All right. So welcome to a brand new year and another Zoom meeting session where we bring you an exciting and relevant topic to dive into with some fascinating guests. Some may be renowned authors, others NAASE members or guest speakers of various industries. So maybe you learn something new, maybe a new connection, or get some boost of knowledge or that big step in your career. So today's topic is quite fascinating, and you've heard about this on the news, at work, friends. We're talking about AI, artificial intelligence. So today's event is going to focus on that big question. Will AI take the pre-sale industry's job? Will it take your job? So let's slice this topic open and see what questions we come up with. And get going with our two new guests today. We've got Victor Garcia from RevComm, and I'll let him introduce himself in just a minute. And we've got Alex Agulyansky from he's a co-founder of PRIZ Guru. So please introduce yourselves and why are you here today? What do you do?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon,
Victor,
everyone.
want to start?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm also a member of the North American Sales Engineers, and what I do is I'm a customer success manager for RevComm US. So it's a smart VoIP with AI-powered analytics, and I manage the relationship with our corporate clients. And yeah, Alex.
Good. So, Alex, nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me here as well. As Diana mentioned, I'm co-founder of PRIZ Guru, and PRIZ has nothing to do with sales engineers in a way, even though we had a talk about this with NAASE about over a year ago, how our tool related to sales engineer. Our tool is dealing with a problem-solving paradigm overall and methods and tools for mainly for engineering organizations. We don't believe that AI solves problems, and again, we'll probably talk about this in a moment, but we do employ AI as an assistant, like many companies out there. And yeah, we'll take it from there in a second.
Great. Welcome to both the two of you. Yeah, I kind of jumped into it. We've had a couple of conversations here before. I completely forgot to introduce myself. I'm Diana Diaco Cervantes, and I am the new president of NAASE. So I have been on the board of advisory from almost the beginning, working with Ken as the founder, and I will be taking over this year and hoping to grow the organization and bring more exciting topics for us to discuss. But today I am the host, and I will be driving this the session, and kind of, trying to understand and learn as well, along with everyone else here on the call. So with that, I think we need to kind of level set where we are. So like, what is a sales engineer? What is pre-sales? Like, what does this profession do? So we all kind of have that understanding. And I'm going to ask Victor to maybe answer that question. And then we'll jump into what is AI? What kind of what do we mean by AI, and what does it mean to the pre-sale industry, to a sales engineer, to those that help, and not just in the technology, but also in manufacturing and all other types of industries. Victor, I know you had some slides that you wanted to share, so I'm gonna see.
Oh, yes, I have.
Requests to share your screen.
Sure, just give me a few seconds.
But yeah, it's funny. Sales engineering is such a, when you think about it, each industry kind of has its own meaning in a way. I, for example, work in software, but we deal with a lot of manufacturing. So for us, we're helping our customers sell products, whereas another type of sales engineer might be helping them sell software. So there's definitely different ways of approaching approaching this?
Yeah. By the way, guys, can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Mhm.
we can.
Yeah. So basically, a sales engineer is a sales professional responsible for selling complex, technological, and scientific products through a consultative process. And they work closely with other members of the sales and marketing teams, product sales, information, and with clients to clarify their individual requirements and provide a custom and suitable solution. And yeah, so before we discuss on why AI will not replace sales engineers, we should know exactly what is a sales engineer. And judging from experience as a sales engineer myself, I believe that in the age of AI, where technological advancements are rapidly reshaping industries, sales engineers will remain indispensable. And as you might have known, since the launch of Chat GPT by November of 2022, various AI products or solutions have popped out, and some of them stood out than the rest. And I believe these AI tools will definitely help the sales professions and specifically sales engineers. However, as this webinar will go on, we will explain why these AI tools will not replace sales engineers, but rather augment the sales process. And yeah, so Diana and Alex will also further discuss on why sales engineers remain indispensable at this age of AI. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Anything about Manad,
Right.
Diana?
yeah, Alex, what does AI mean to you?
So I want to touch a little bit on sales engineers first, and this is something that we did talk last time that we talked to in a webinar, the one that I mentioned a year and a half ago, or just over a year ago. That in our view, sales engineers, there's sales people, they sell products off the shelf kind of thing. The sales engineers, they sell in solutions to the problems of the customers, right? So first and foremost, they need to be able to get themselves into customers' shoes, understand their problem space, and eventually solve it with whatever they selling, right? And I think that's the biggest difference between, the regular salesperson out there that sells whatever the product available off the shelf versus, if you take an example, if you're talking about software, especially Diana, take AWS ecosystem, right? AWS ecosystem, it's a lot of products. They all off the shelf, quote unquote, but they not every one of them solve a specific problem, right? The sales engineers, and AWS does have sales engineers, they come to the customer to solve a particular problem. Which tools they're going to use, that's a different question, right? But they're trying to solve a particular problem. Now, going back to AI, I think and I think I also mentioned about that, I think it's important to understand what AI is not, and not necessarily what AI is, right? In AI is a machine, it's not a human being, and that's exactly what it's not. It doesn't have the intelligence of a human being, and it's really as good as it's being trained. Now, ChatGPT is well trained on a lot of data, but it's still trained on the existing data, on the history, and that's why probably when we're talking in the space of problem solving, and that touches sales engineers as well as what we do in PRIZ Guru, it might help really, really well in brainstorming, because brainstorming is really trying to come up with ideas, not necessarily innovative ideas, but some ideas from your past experience, from what you've seen in the past, what you heard in the past, maybe from different people and so on. So AI is really good in that, right? And it's doing it really fast because it is based on the previous data. What it cannot do, it cannot be creative, right? And this is where there's no replacement for human being for now. I don't know when it's going to change,
Yeah.
Maybe another 50, 100, 150 years, I don't know. But as of right now, it's using the existing data to do some analysis and create something based on the existing data. And this is the important piece to understand here, right? Now, a human being on the other hand, it has the context, it has the feeling, it has because don't forget that when you thinking about the problem space, for either it's for sales engineers when they talking to customers, or customers themselves trying to solve their engineering problems, the same problem can be looked at from a different perspective by different people, right? So, for example, you're looking at the symptom, not necessarily a problem, but that symptom creates a different problems for different people. That is not something that AI will have in their mind. It's only the human being, how you feel, how you woke up in the morning. But that's AI doesn't have that, right? Only the human being has that. So I think this is not something that will ever be, the machine will be able to replace.
Yeah, I completely agree with you in terms of the machine. It uses facts, but I do have to say that it is trained by humans that have their
Right.
own biases, and they have their own feelings that they sneak in there somehow. So I think that's the one thing that we do have to be careful with is when we're training these machines, how
Right.
they're trained. But yeah, I completely agree. When you're dealing with people, if you don't keep in mind their feelings and their perspective and their background and how the solution is received, it makes a huge difference, or how it's not received. Because once you have a solution, they still have to implement it, and they still have to use it, and they still have to, change management is very hard. So,
Or maybe solving a problem in the eyes of somebody in the organization doesn't solve the problem in the eyes of somebody else, because he has a different perspective
true,
or the different feeling and so on.
true.
Right. Now, a little bit note about what you said, that specific people trained that model. There is an argument against that, because in order to achieve that level of training, you need to have an extreme large data set, right? That data set probably not going to be, just statistically speaking, it's probably not going to be very biased, right? The problem with AI is more how it's getting used by the same people, because you can say, anybody who uses ChatGPT, you can say, form me the answer in this particular, be biased toward that. And the AI just does it. It doesn't care, right? Because it's been told to. And that's the dangers there, because you can generate a lot of information towards something that not necessarily
Well, ChatGPT,
serving
but
other
if you
people.
build your own, so now you have the capabilities of building your own GPT.
Right.
And what data you load into it makes a huge difference. So if you only trained it on certain types of data, and then yeah, so that's why this AI nut is so hard to crack. And there's so
That's
many
correct.
pieces of it too. It's so many facets, and they're coming up more and more every day. What kind of tools do you see out there that sales engineers and pre-sales folks use to augment some of the day-to-day roles?
Right. So again, we approach it from a problem solving perspective, right? And some of the things that we do, I think it's helping not only sales engineers, but really anybody who works on engineering problems, is to help people think, right? Imagine associate you coming to somebody else to discuss a problem. It's much easier than you do it on your own, right? But there's a lot of caveats there, because you come to your coworker, oh, you now need to trust your coworker. You need to make sure he's not going to judge you, or he's not going to expose that information to other people. And there's a lot of psychological things that involved in that, where you can say, I'll think twice before I go to my neighbor. Where you can have very similar conversation with a machine. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to expose that information to other people. It's just going to give you the feedback that you need, potentially. Maybe not 100% correct feedback, but also people also not giving 100% correct feedback, aren't they? Right. So this is what we see as kind of a foreseeable future for AI, where AI is really good at looking up the information, because sometimes people just spending hours, days, weeks, maybe months searching for information that they need. AI does it really well and really efficient. Giving a feedback on the content, AI does it really well, really quickly as well. Same as you put a presentation together, you can go ahead and send it to your manager, your coworker. Hey, can you give me some inputs? What did I miss? Right? Same problem. AI can do it very quickly, without judging, without exposing it to anyone, and so on. It basically becomes your friend, quote unquote, without being a really human being, as close as it can be.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I've used that in the past for I use Grammarly a lot. That's one of my favorite tools, because I'm English is not my first language. I learned Romanian and Hungarian. Those are my two languages, and I always second guess myself, and it's something that if I get Grammarly to help me with, a word usage, where. I think that was like
Exactly.
my biggest issue is things sound the same, and you write them the same. Yeah, it's judgment free. So I think that definitely I can definitely see that more large scale solutioning, where you can freely talk about various ideas that you have without being judged, and then having that as a larger pool of thoughts to pull from.
Right. And another thing I probably missed that is, again, I'm not sales engineer myself, but I imagine before sales engineers going into a meeting with a potential client, they need to understand that space better than the client themselves, right? This is tough. I can imagine this is tough. It takes hours to prepare. It takes a lot of effort to prepare. It's the same problem. Where do you take enough information, but not too much information? So just enough to go into that meeting well prepared, yeah, so you can talk in the same language, right? I think AI is a perfect tool for that, to be used to get that information. Whether you go into AWS to talk to them, or you go into IBM to talk to them, or Intel to talk to them, they might use exactly the same tools to achieve their solutions, but they are completely different industries, right? How do you talk with them in their language? You have to prepare.
Yeah.
You will get the same information from the web, from Google, from anywhere. It's just gonna take you way longer.
Way longer. Yeah. And the velocity and the volume of data that's out there that's coming our way is just massive.
Absolutely.
Wow. Victor, what kind of tools do you use in your role? I know you're not pre-sales per se, you're more that post-sale. You're on mute as well.
Yeah, that's correct, Diana. So I also source for prospective clients, and the AI tool that we use, or I use, is our own, which is a smart VoIP with AI-powered analytics. Now, Alex mentioned two words earlier that stood out, which is feedback and also understanding your clients. So basically, what our tool does It's that it's actually a phone system, and it will record every call that we make or our clients make, and that it will analyze and visualize what you have said, and it will provide you with a feedback on how you spoke and what can be done better. Same as for your clients or maybe the leads that we are calling, in terms of prospecting over the phone. And same thing when every time we do a client meeting, it's going to be recorded, and then it will provide us with a feedback on what was the words that was frequently mentioned, and including what made or at what part of the conversation did was the client or lead became too engaged, and also indicate the emotions of us being the user and also our prospects. So we would determine on a call or maybe on a video call on what part did they became excited, or maybe if something made them furious with
Yeah.
maybe their previous provider, so that we can capture and we can analyze, and then we can adjust our approach to each and individual clients that we have.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and I did hear about those types of tools. Um, yeah, they have those in call centers a lot. I'd be curious. I'm not in sales per se. I am pre-sales. I focus mostly on the services aspect of the sales process. So bringing in, making sure that our services team is represented. So in my conversations, um I definitely try to make the customer feel comfortable with the sales and the implementation that they're getting. I'd be curious to see how some of those conversations go, and how different aspects of the conversation get tagged. Yeah, in the past it was like you had to have your manager kind of sit there and listen, and then you had to have the one-on-one, and then they tell you what part of the conversation. I mean, this is
Exactly.
like at scale.
And your manager would have to take down notes on what
Yeah,
transpired during the call, and maybe some
yeah.
keywords that made the prospect or client happy, things like that. But for now, at the age of AI, it can be captured, and it will provide you, for our solution, it will provide you the necessary data and insights for that.
Mhm.
So it will, and because it's AI powered, the biases are not there.
Yeah.
Another thing to add here, I believe, since we're talking about sales, many times you're getting the data, or you're trying to get the data as structured as possible so you can use it in the future. What AI allows you to do, it allows you to take unstructured data. So for example, a flat text, a complete flat text, and then you using AI like you would use a human being, and saying, hey, Bob, can you go through all of these nodes about all of the clients and pick the ones that talked about whatever, cloud computing, right? Now, a human being will, one way of doing that is ahead of time, you have like a field that's saying, was there a conversation about cloud computing, yes or no, or something like that. So you pre-structure the data. Very difficult to predict ahead of time. When you're using AI on a flat text, even if it's a recording, right, a transcripted recording, you can use the AI tools and say, ask AI, was there a conversation about cloud computing, right? And it's not a human being that goes through, it takes maybe a few minutes per each transcript to go through and kind of pick on the words. AI can do it in microseconds, right? And so now you have unstructured data, and you can do a really good analysis and pick and choose from previous clients that you had the conversations with. For example, you're trying to pivot to another product, or you're trying to introduce a different product. How would you do that? You're just saying somebody who would potentially be interested in that based on the previous conversations, right? It wouldn't be possible to do that with just a human being, and it's definitely impossible to predict what's going to be the future products out there in 2-3 years from now, and you still want to approach the previous clients.
Yeah. Do you think I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, but at what point we're going to be outstepping ourselves in a way where it's, you know, as a salesperson or pre-salesperson, we know we're using this data. The buyer knows that we're using this data. Then the salesperson steps up their game. Then the buyer is like, okay. Like, at what point is it like just no more? Then it's just more like a shopping cart, and then you're buying it. What's your prediction?
I don't think I have an answer for that, but it's part of a progress, right? Some time ago, I mean, just for the context, AI wasn't introduced yesterday or last year or 2 years ago, right? It was introduced first in, I believe, 1956.
Yeah.
The first AI model by one of the universities who like owned that initial patent. I don't remember the name. So it wasn't the new technology. It was just developed enough for, you know, a average human being to use. Same happened with calculators, right? Oh, what's going to happen with calculators? Now we don't need, you know, accountants. I don't see them going away, right? So I don't think there is a worry of saturating. I think it's just going to create new opportunities versus destroying the old ones, right? And there's a lot of people saying, you know, AI is not going to replace us. The people who use AI will replace us,
Plays us. Yeah.
right?
That's the
Because
greatest
it's
quote
just,
ever.
yeah, in that, because all of these tools, you know, computers,
It's like it's not the tractor, it's the people that use the tractors.
exactly. Any new technology doesn't replace the people, it gives them more abilities. And more abilities means more options. It opens more doors. And this is how I look at this. Because if you have more powers, now you can do more things. So why not use them, right?
Yeah. Same thing with the invention of electricity. It created jobs and new machines as well. But for the case of AI, I believe that some repetitive tasks will be eliminated, but AI will also create new jobs. It's like what I'm seeing now. There's, I think, a new job where the title is AI trainer, in which you have to refine the big data being fed to algorithms and also AI or large language models. It didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And I'm
There is
seeing
even
more like that.
there is even a position called a prompt engineer. So prompts that you're writing into ChatGPT or other tools, prompt engineer. It's a person that his or her only purpose is to
Get the best answer.
you know, fine tune these prompts. That's the job. That didn't exist before.
And amazingly, it's a high-paying job.
It's pretty high-paying job,
engineers, yeah, because it's for now there are still few,
right,
who are proficient in prompt engineering.
Yeah, I read a very recent statistic. I think it was this week at some point, that about 70% of hiring managers will be reconsidering their hiring strategies based on AI. So that's significant. That's significant for sure.
But if you think about it, any new incoming technology from the past, it happened over and over again. New language came up. Python came up, right? A few years back. Oh, we want Python developers. So all of a sudden you're reconsidering your entire workforce. Either people will learn Python or we will hire new Python developers.
That's true.
Right. So it's not only AI specific notion. It happens all the time, every time with introduction of any new technology.
Yeah, but Python wasn't as impactful as AI.
Depends on the context, depends on which
Yeah.
world you're talking about, right? So in software engineering world, it was very, very impactful, right? Especially talking about speaking about machine learning paradigm. Machine learning was introduced kind of in parallel with Python. Python became popular, I believe, because of machine learning becoming popular, because it's that language that's very, very easy to manipulate and very quick to develop and very quick to experiment with, which is very convenient for machine learning. And again, a lot of people changed direction. A lot of companies decided, okay, let's re-review our workforce yet again.
Yeah. It's all cyclical. Yeah. It just feels like with all, like I said earlier, the volume and velocity is just increasing exponentially. And that is amplifying everything in this day and age. And because it's so more popular and more readily available to people, I think it makes a bigger difference in the visibility of it. So in this case, non-developers are getting their hands on it, which, you know.
Right.
Any questions as we move forward?
Not for me.
I can chime in and just say, I don't really have any questions. I just agree that with a lot of what you guys are saying, that I've actually been both a salesperson in the past and in technology, as well as now a sales engineer. And I see so much value in a lot of what you were saying, both Victor and Alex, and hearing that, hearing those keywords, like we don't currently use AI to listen for those keywords. And I think that's a fantastic idea. And I hope that we start to do that. And I'm going to mention it too, even with something as simple as AI note taking would even be a starting point. Maybe not everything, but a starting point. So we've definitely encouraged our salespeople to use AI note taking. So I think that would be a help. But to hear from discovery all the way beginning at the discovery level, to hear those keywords that clients are looking for, because you have to tailor your meetings further down, whether it's a demo, whether it's a more technical discussion. It has to be tailored to what that client is looking for, or else you're missing the mark. Even if it's the same exact conversation from a different level as another client, their terminology is different. And if you don't talk what they're thinking, like if you don't speak their speak, you're missing the mark because they don't understand. So those keywords can make the sale or break the sale. It can be just something as simple as the wrong term can break a sale or make a sale. So as simple as that, but all the way through. And I remember from being a salesperson, sitting in a meeting and reviewing, whether it was in person or on the Zoom, sitting and having somebody else do a demo or having somebody else talk about something and saying, so-and-so like this, and so-and-so like this, and then actually reverting that into contracts or using that term in a contract for that reason. So those are the types of things that I think AI can really add to a sales process, from pre-sales through the entire sales process and post-sale. So an AI, like you said, Alex, can take so much of that time away. And then for my job, from demo sites and creating customized demos, that's where I use right now. That's where I currently use it the most. Just creating things and using it to my own personal advantage.
I can give an example from my own experience. Again, I'm not a sales engineer, but I am dealing with sales. And sometimes when I'm preparing to talk to a client, for example, it's a large company. Sometimes it's not a company I'm aware of what they do. It takes sometimes hours to go through their website, to go through their LinkedIn profile, to understand what they actually do, what they're interested in more or less, especially if it's some company that has a lot of products or a lot of different services or consulting companies, it's really hard to understand what is it they actually do, right? Now, a machine, and I didn't find it the actual tool that can do that, but it would be amazing that a machine or AI can take a website, the full content of a website, and summarize and say, okay, these guys, they doing that, and they focusing in these areas of technologies, for example, or these type of products, and so on and so forth. And they solved all of these different problems in a recent past. It's almost like taking a large article and summarizing it very quickly and
Yeah.
in a couple of paragraphs, right?
I
Because
have a
that's
couple
what
of
you
tools
really
for
need.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a couple of things that I could share.
I would
Okay.
say, I would love that. If
Yeah.
anyone's got that, that would be amazing.
So I use a tool called Perplexity, and it's using ChatGPT, so that's the underlying tool, but it's a very good research tool, and it does just that. It gives you the answer, but also gives you the references where it's using it from.
Mhm.
So it's like
Oh,
a very,
nice.
very powerful, like Google type tool. And then there's also a tool called Merlin that it's like I think it's like an extension that you can install, and it does that. It summarizes website content on websites. I
Okay.
haven't used that
I'll have to check it
extensively
out.
yet, just here and there a couple of times, but there's a couple of things that I'm going to continue on curating on what kind of tools are useful. But it's here and there, you also have to be careful kind of what kind of tools you use, because, just like, in crypto, when it came out, all of these garbage coins came out, and a lot of them ended up being, fraudulent. You never know kind of what it is like with AI as well. So always be careful where you put your information. Always do the research, like where it's coming, who's building it, where it's going.
And that exactly goes to the point of this discussion, right? Will it replace the sales engineer or any human being? And this is where it's not going to, right? All of these tools, they as good as you use them, as good as the data that you feed into them, but you still need the intelligence of a human being to actually make use of that, the real use of that.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing you can do about it. People also evolve, not as slow as some might say.
Yeah. And by the way, Sarah, I'm curious. Have you already been using any AI tools or AI powered tools prior to this webinar outside Chat GPT?
Not really. I mean, just AI, note taking and things like that from Zoom. But unfortunately, my company doesn't really use much. I wish we did, and haven't had time to dive into too much yet. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but I use it primarily right now when I've got time as I'm building things out. And like I said, for notes and things like that.
I see.
Always open for other suggestions, but it's a matter of a lot of currently it's not where I've had the time to focus. I'm
Yeah,
sure that's a common theme, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'll try to do is I'll try to write a blog post on some of the tools that are reputable enough, that are suggestible to companies
Yeah.
that are worthy of being vetted by companies.
Yeah, that'd be great.
security teams.
Yeah, that would be great.
That's something definitely I'm always on a search. So but like, Microsoft now is even releasing their new keyboard with the Copilot. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
becoming mainstream to the point where Microsoft's doing it. So going to be a little harder if you're a Microsoft shop to
It
get
is.
away from it if it's embedded in it. So, well, we are 7 minutes out from top of the hour, and I wanted to kind of wrap up the conversation. Do you guys have any wrapping comments to our AI taking over the sales engineer role, pre-sales role?
Yeah, I don't, again, as we kind of gone over and over again, I don't think there is a chance of that happening anytime soon. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but not anytime soon. With exception of we can just use that to evolve more as human beings. So we should use that to our advantage. Wisely to our
Wisely
advantage,
to
for
our
sure.
advantage.
And for me, the best salespeople can embrace change, and that AI tools are already here to augment human skills, and that a modern sales engineer should be knowledgeable on the available AI tools that can help them sell better, or maybe to serve their clients better. And that's for me.
Yeah, and without a doubt, you know, when you're dealing with people, people want to buy from people. People want to buy from people they like. People want to buy from people they understand, that they understand them. And I think, you know, like you said, Alex, it's when solutions are there, it's that human element is it will always make a difference, at least in my opinion, in the next few generations. Like you said, we can't predict the future, and there's a quote, and I wish I wrote it down or I took a screenshot, but there was a quote about give it a long enough timeline, and we all become extinct at some point. So depending on what that timeline is, it could be, 150 years, it could be 100 million years. But I think for right now we have our brain, and we're going to use our brain, and we should use AI to help us be the best humans that we can be, really. Yeah, I think this was a great discussion. I think there's so much more. This is definitely scratching the surface. More conversations like this to come in the coming years. Coming weeks and months, since we're moving at such a fast clip. But other than that, I will leave with this thought. Be good, be learning, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And for those that wants to be a sales engineer, feel free to get in touch with Diana.
Yes, that's right. If you have any questions, please reach out. Check out our website. And then we have also a lot of resources there. We have blog posts. We have memberships. So check us out.
Been a really
Right.
fun career change. Really?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.